Hi everyone, very good evening. So welcome you all to the day 3 of costing revision for September 2026 attempt. Sorry for the delay, we are late by 30 minutes, but it's okay. So I welcome you all. Please let me know, all those who are joining in, please let me know if audio video is clear. So we'll try to start at the earliest. Okay, all those joining in, good evening. Please let me know if audio video is clear. So I'll update in the group also that we are now live. 6:30 as decided. Okay, all clear? Fine. So I'll wait for 2 minutes so that everybody else joins in. More students join in the meanwhile. And after that, we'll start with our discussion. We'll continue with labor costing. Yesterday, we completed with the concepts of labor costing. So today, we'll take up the questions on labor costing, the ICI module questions, the important ones, a few illustrations we have to take. Very good evening. So we'll take up those few illustrations. We'll see what mistakes you people can do. We'll see how institute can do the twist in terms. Let's see that. Good evening, good evening. Do share with your friends also. Anybody else wants to join in, as this series for anyone who is preparing for September 2026 attempt as well as for January 27 also. If they are watching afterwards, January 27 students, this is applicable for you guys also. So I request all of you to do share with all your friends, and all those who are joining in, please do like the video. Hit the like button. Okay, all those who have joined in, guys, if you have any doubts in labor costing part that we have covered yesterday. So today what we are planning is, we are planning to start with the questions on labor costing. Then we will start with a chapter. As per the time, we'll see, we will start with the chapter of overhead costing. Yes, any doubts in the yesterday's session? I would like to know if you have any doubts in the yesterday's session. Hi everyone. Okay, any doubts in the yesterday session? Please confirm quickly so that we can start at the earliest. So we'll be starting with illustration number 3 on labor costing. So we'll be taking up illustration number 3, 4, 5. We'll take up illustration number 3, illustration number 4 we'll take up, and illustration number 5 we will take up. And after that, on labor turnover, on Halcyon Oven plan, there is one illustration number 10 that we will take up. Then illustration number 15 that we will take up. So these are the questions that we'll be covering from labor costing, right? Okay, so I'm assuming that there are no doubts in the yesterday's session. So we will start with illustration number 3. Ready everyone? Yes, shall we start? Yes, okay. So let's come to illustration number 3. Calculate the earnings for A and B from the following particulars for a month and allocate the employee cost to each job X, Y, and Z. So if you remember yesterday what I told you, I told you that it is a cost from whose angle? It is a cost from the viewpoint of employer. And on the other hand, they are asking for what? They are asking for the earnings of A and B. That is, it is an income for the employee. So indirectly what they are asking two things. One, what will be the cost to the employer? Second thing, what is the earnings of A and B? The earnings of A and B means what A and B will take home. What is the amount that they are going to take back home as earnings? Okay. Information given is basic wages of 10,000 and 16,000. DA is given 50%. That means it will be 50% of the basic wages. Contribution to Provident Fund on basic wages 8% and 8%. Contribution to employee state insurance on basic wages 2% and 2%. Now here it is clearly mentioned that contribution to PF and ESI also is on basic wages. Here it can be given that this contribution is on basic wages plus DA. Another thing, if the question is silent that this contribution to PF or ESI, whether it is on basic wages or basic wages plus DA, although it will be given, 99% of the chances that it will be given, but if the question is silent, then you have to make an assumption. You can assume it on the basic plus DA. Clear? Then overtime of 10 hours. Now see, the overtime is being done by worker A only. There is no overtime being done by worker B. After that they say the normal working hours for the month are 200 hours. Overtime is paid at double the total of normal wages plus DA. Right? The overtime is being paid at double the total of normal wages plus DA. That means the overtime will be 10,000 plus 50% of 10,000. Double the rate of that, it will be paid. Okay. The employer's contribution to state insurance and the provident fund are at equal rates with the employee's contribution. That means this 8% and 2% who are contributing is only employer contributing? No sir, it is being contributed by employer plus employee. Both are contributing 8% and 2%, same percentage, both are contributing. Now, the two workers were employed on the job X, Y, and Z in the following proportions. Worker A worked 40% time to job X, 30% to Y, and 30% to Z. Worker B, 50% to X, 20% to Y, and 30% to Z. Overtime was done on job Y only. So, this is done on Y. By whom? By worker A. First and the foremost thing. Now, this question they have asked in the exam also. This question has been asked in the exam. Right? The first thing that you have to calculate is that what will be the employee cost to the employer. Will basic wages be a part of cost? Yes, sir. Will DA be a part of cost? Yes, sir. Right? So if you talk about the cost here, if you talk about that what will be the cost to employer, what all will be included here? Will the basic wages be included? Yes, sir. Basic wages will be a part of cost. Yes. Will DA be a part of cost? Yes. Will the contribution to PF and ESI will be a part of cost? Yes. But whose contribution? Employer and employee both are contributing, but whose contribution will be a part of employee cost? Employer's contribution will be a part. Right? So it will be employer contribution. It will be employer contribution to PF plus employer contribution to ESI. Employer contribution to ESI. Is that clear? Right? So this will be the cost to the employer. So that is what they have done here. If you look at this part, gross wages, statement of employee cost. That is, this is the employee cost from the viewpoint of employer. Gross wages are there excluding the overtime, that is 15,000 and 24,000. Right? Gross wages means basic wages plus DA. Here gross wages, what they are saying is, the gross wages they are saying is basic plus DA. Right? This is basic plus DA, 15,000 and 24,000. Add employer's contribution to PF at the rate of 8%, but 8% on what? 8% on the basic wages as given in the question. On basic wages, 8% of this 10,000 and 8% of this 16,000. So that is a part of the cost. Add employer's contribution to ESI. So this will be the total wages which is earned. This is excluding overtime. Divided by number of hours ordinary wage rate per hour, although it is not asked in the question. Although it is not asked in the question. So even if you will not take it, that is fine. This much part is important. Clear? Now we are saying this 16,000 and 25,600. This is to be distributed between job X, Y and Z. This is also between X, Y and Z. In which ratio? So this is the ratio which is given: 40%, 30%, 30%, 50%, 20% and 30%. This is the ratio which is given to you. Right? So in this ratio you will distribute this wages which we have earned, which is the cost for the employer. Now there is one more thing, that is the overtime. Now what is the information given regarding the overtime? Regarding overtime, they are saying overtime is paid at double the rate of what? Double the rate of basic plus DA. Right? That means double of what? Now only the employer A has done the overtime. So for employer A, basic plus DA is how much? 15,000. So 2 into 15,000. That is 30,000. Now, are you going to pay overtime of 30,000 to employer A? No. This 30,000 is for how many hours? It is for the full month. Because this basic and DA is for full month, right? It is for 200 hours. That is the total hours. But we need the overtime for how many hours? We need it for 10 hours. So how will you calculate the amount of overtime? 30,000 divided by 200 multiplied by 10. So 30,000 divided by 200 multiplied by 10. That is 1,500 is the overtime cost. It is for worker A on job Y. Worker A on job Y. See here, worker A, firstly the 16,000, this 16,000 distributed in the ratio which is given. Overtime total is 1,500 on which job? On job Y. Then worker B, the total of 25,600, this one distributed between X, Y and Z in the ratio given. So this is the total employee cost on the different jobs. This is what they were asking for. Is that clear? So this is the employee cost from the viewpoint of employer. Now second part of the question says, what is the earnings of A and B? The earnings of A and B means what they will take home. Will they take the basic wages? Yes, sir. Will they take home the DNS allowance? Yes, sir. Will they take home the contribution to PF by employer? No, sir. Will they take home the contribution to ESI by the employer? No, sir. Clear? They will not take that home. Will they take the overtime wages home? Yes, sir. So what is given here? For A, they will take the wages, basic wages, DA, overtime as calculated. Here there is no overtime. So this is the total wages that they were taking home, 16,500 and 24,000. Then they realized that if the employer is making an investment, if the employer is investing on our behalf, why not? We also invested. So they decided that out of this, let's invest 8%. 8% of what? 8% of the basic wages and 2% in Provident Fund and ESI. This is the net wages which is earned by the employee. That is the net wages that the employee will be taking back home. It is not, this is what? This is employee's contribution. This is employee's contribution, because employee got 16,500 and 24,000. Then he realized, okay, deduct 8% and 2% on my behalf. I will invest now in the PF and ESI. I want to invest in PF and ESI. right? So here the net earnings means earnings of A and B means what they will be finally taking back home. Is this question clear? If you have any doubts in this question, let me know. Yes, if you have any doubts in this question, please let me know. No doubts? Okay, so let's come to illustration number 4. Let's come to illustration number 4. So all these are the important illustrations that we are doing, right? Illustration number 4 is also equally important. Illustration 4 says, it is seen from the job card for the repair of the customer's equipment that a total of 154 labor hours have been put in as detailed below. So there are 3 workers who are working. Worker A paid at rupees 200 per day for 8 hours. For 8 hours you are paying 200 rupees. Worker B paid at rupees 100 per day of 8 hours. Worker C paid at 300 per day of 8 hours. These are the working hours given from Monday to Saturday for each worker. How much is the working hours every day? For how many hours they are working each day? It is given here. Now, next they say, in terms of an award, in employee conciliation, the workers are to be paid dearness allowance on the basis of cost of living index figures relating to each month, which works out at rupees 968 for the relevant month. The dearness allowance is payable to all the workers irrespective of the wage rate if they are present or on leave with wages on all the working days. Whether they are working, whether they are on holiday, the DA is to be paid. Okay. Each worker has to work for 8 hours on weekdays. Weekdays means Monday to Friday, they have to work for 8 hours. Saturday, that means the normal working hours are now how much? The normal working hours are 8. Saturday and Sunday will be weekly holiday. However, the worker may work on Saturday due to the exigency of the work for 4 hours. So the worker can work for 4 hours, though the full payment of 8 hours will be made with no other payments. Okay, even if he is working for 4 hours on Saturday, we'll pay him for 8 hours. That is what the question says. Now, overtime. How to pay overtime? The overtime is paid at twice of the ordinary wage rate if a worker works for more than 9 hours in a day. So what the question says, the condition says that if a worker works for more than 9 hours in a day, what they are saying is, if on any day the worker is working for more than 9 hours, he is entitled to overtime. And the overtime is to be paid how? The overtime is paid at twice of the ordinary wage rate. It is paid at twice of the ordinary wage rate. Whatever is the ordinary rate, double will be the overtime. Okay. Excluding the holidays, the total number of hours works out to 176 in the relevant month. The company's contribution to Provident Fund and ESI are absorbed into overheads. Fine. That is not a part of labor cost. Calculate the wages payable to each worker. Now, the wages will depend upon the total number of hours which each worker is spending. Let's talk about worker A now. Worker A 10.5 hours, 8 hours, then 10.5 hours, 9.5 and 10.5 hours. Now, if I talk about Monday, let's see. According to the condition, how it should be solved. Worker A, we are talking about Monday. On Monday, he is working for 10.5 hours. How I'm going to divide this hours? Listen to it very, very carefully. right? Firstly, they say the company's normal working hours are how much? Normal working hours are 8 hours. Now for this normal working hours, what will you pay? Will you pay overtime or will you pay the normal wage rate? Here we will pay normal wage rate. This is the normal working hours. Clear? Then one column we say extra hours. Now what is this extra hours? Now one thing, beyond, if a worker is working for more than 8 hours, he is working for 10.5 hours, should we pay overtime for 2.5 hours? Should we pay overtime for 2.5 hours? The answer is no. Why? The reason being, what is the condition given in the question? The condition given is that overtime will be paid only if the worker is working beyond 9 hours in a day. The worker is working beyond 9 hours. So extra hour means 1 hour. 1 hour is what? As allowed by condition. As allowed by condition. And for this 1 hour, what will you pay? You will pay the normal wage rate. You will pay the normal wage rate. Now, this is 9 hours. For the remaining 1.5 hours, this will be your overtime. And this is to be paid at twice the normal wage rate. This is to be paid at twice the normal wage rate. Clear? So let's see for worker A on Monday. What is given? Normal hours is 8. He is working for 10.5 hours. Normal hours is 8. Extra hours is 1. Overtime is 1.5. That is what I told you. Normal is 8. Extra is 1. And overtime is 1.5 hours. Now what they have done is, for the simplification, what they do is they convert this. They convert this 1.5 of overtime into what? They convert this into equivalent normal hours. Equivalent normal hours. Now what is this equivalent normal hours? That whatever the earning that you are going to do in 1.5 hours of overtime, the same earning, if you have to do it from the normal hours, how many hours will be required? For example, if my normal wage rate per hour is, let's say, rupees 100, right? So what will be the overtime wages per hour? Overtime wages is double, that is 200, isn't it? Now if I say, if this overtime of 200, this amount, if I have to earn it from the normal hours, how many normal hours will be required? So I will require 2 normal hours. So can I say 1 overtime hour, the earnings of the 1 overtime hour is equal to 2 normal hours. Right? So if I'm having 1.5 of overtime hours, so how many hours will be required? Normal hours, that will be 3 normal hours. This is what we call it as equivalent hours. So we have converted this into 2. We have converted it into equivalent normal hours for the overtime worked. So whatever we are going to pay for 1.5 hours of overtime, the same amount we will pay for 3 hours of normal time. Right? So total normal hour means 8 plus 1 plus 3. So this will be your total normal hours. Similarly, for Tuesday is working for 8 hours, so no issue. Wednesday is working for 10.5, so same as Monday. Thursday is working for 9.5, so 8 hours normal, 1 hour extra, and 0.5 as overtime. So 0.5 into 2, double the wage rate. So 0.5 into 2, that is 1 hour of equivalent. Friday again is working for 10.5 and Saturday is not working at all. So you will get a total of 54 of equivalent normal hours. Right? 54 of equivalent normal hours. Is this part clear? Is the A part, worker A clear? Please let me know about worker A first. This extra hours and all cleared. Then I'll move to worker B. Worker B is very straightforward. He is working for 8 hours only every day. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. And on Saturday also he is working. Yes sir, Saturday also is working for 8 hours. So he will pay for 8 hours. Even if he would have been working for 4 hours, we would have paid for 8 hours. He is working for 8 hours, we'll pay for 8 hours only. Right? So here 4 hours is normal and 4 hours extra that is allowed, we'll pay the normal wage rate only. Has not worked for more than 9 hours in a day. So worker B is pretty simple. There is no particular issue in case of worker B. Is it clear? Yes. Let's come to worker C now. Let's see, the worker C is working similar to worker A. The only thing is working for 8 hours on Saturday also. So 10.5, how the worker C is working. Okay, in case of worker B, sir, can we write, instead of writing 4 here, can we write 8 here? Yes, you can write 8 here, no issues. Or you can write 4 normal hours. That is, on Saturdays is allowed to work for 4 hours, we'll pay for 8 hours and 4 extra hours that he is working. That's totally fine. You can write it anyways. Now coming to worker C, 10.5, 8 hours, Wednesday again 10.5, Thursday 9.5, then Friday again 10.5, and Saturday also is working for how many hours? He is working for 8 hours. Very hard working. Isn't it? Worker C is very hard working. Okay, on Saturday also is working for 8 hours. So up till Friday there is no issue. It is same as worker A. What about Saturday now, sir? What about Saturday? Now Saturday is working for 8 hours. So will you give the overtime? Will you give overtime? No, we cannot give overtime. The reason being the overtime will be paid as given in the question. The overtime will be paid only if he works for beyond 9 hours. So for 8 hours, we are going to pay the normal wages only. Right? So this will be the total equivalent hours of 62. Is that clear? After that, now we have to calculate the cost. Basic wages per hour. Basic wages per hour is calculated as, for worker A, it is 200 per day of 8 hours. So it will be 200 divided by 8. Here it will be 100 divided by 8. And here it will be 300 divided by 8. 200 by 8, 100 by 8. So here the basic wages will be, for worker A, 200 divided by 8. Here it is 100 divided by 8. And here it is 300 divided by 8. Clear? Basic wages per hour. Then DNS allowance. How will you pay DNS allowance? They say the DA is to be paid to all the employees, and it works out based on cost of living index. For this particular month, the cost of living index is 968, right? We wanted what? We want the DA per hour because we are calculating all the cost per hour. So 968 will be divided by the total hours which is spent in a month. Now the total hours is how much? 154 will take, or we will take 176. We will take 176. The reason being 154 labor hours is for where the actual work is done on the different jobs. But they say the DA is to be paid whether the worker is working or not. So it is to be paid for the total of 176 hours. So here when you will pay DA, this DA will be how much? 968 divided by 176. That is 5.5. So you will get the hourly rate, that for 1 hour what you will be paying, basic wages plus the DA into total normal hours that we have calculated here, that is 62, 48 and 54, will calculate the total wages payable. Yes, is this question clear, guys? Is this question clear? Please see if you have any doubts in this question. Please let me know if you have any doubts in this question. No doubts? Okay, now in this question, I'll tell you one thing. Here, the condition is only 9 hours condition which is given. If you remember, yesterday I told you about the condition. I told you the condition can be given as 9 hours. Okay, where it is? Yes. It can be given as 9 hours in a day or 48 hours in a week, and it can be given as 9 hours in a day and 48 hours in a week. So in this question, if it is given 9 hours and 48 hours, so what is the change that will happen here? Now 9 hours and 48 hours condition says both the conditions should be satisfied. In case of worker A and worker B, there will be no change. In case of worker C, where the change will come, if you see the Saturday part, here the condition of 48 hours is getting satisfied. But is the condition of 9 hours getting satisfied? No, sir. Condition of 48 hours is getting satisfied. He is working for more than 48 hours, satisfied. But is he working for more than 9 hours in a day? No. So the solution will remain this only. The solution will remain the same. But if the condition says 9 hours in a day or 48 hours in a week, that is, if any one of the condition is also satisfied, then what should be done? If any one of the condition gets satisfied, then what should be done? Right? In that case, what we should be doing is, if you take, I'll take 4 hours here, which is the normal hours, I'll take 44 here. Right? Now, you people will tell that he is not working for more than 9 hours in a day. Whether I should put the remaining 4 hours here, that is in the extra hours, we should be paying the normal wage rate. Here it will be 8 hours then. Or I should put 4 here in the overtime. What should I do? See, if I put, I'll rub this. If I put this 4 in the extra hours, is it okay? Now the worker is working for 44 plus 8, 52 hours. 52 hours. In this case, what is the condition? The condition says 9 hours or 48 hours. If any one of the condition gets satisfied, you have to pay overtime. Now here the 48 hours condition is getting satisfied. Right? The 48 hours condition is getting satisfied. So they will say, if the 48 hours condition, either of the condition should be satisfied. If 48 hours condition is getting satisfied, then why are you not paying overtime? Here the overtime should be paid. Right? So here in this case, we will not take 4 here. We will take 4 as overtime. In which condition? In 9 hours or 48 hours condition. We'll take 4 as normal, 4 as overtime. This is the twist that this question carries. Please go through this and let me know if you are clear with this. Please guys, please respond. All those who are live, please respond if you are clear with this. What about rest of the people? So you have to read the condition very carefully. What is the condition given? Whether it is only 9 hours condition, whether it is 9 hours and 48 hours condition, or whether it is 9 hours or 48 hours condition, and an or. Just one word will change the whole scenario. Okay, let's move to the next question then. Let's move to the next question, that is illustration number 5. Another important question. This question has also been asked in the examination, right? This question has also been asked in the examination. In a factory, the basic wage rate is rupees 100 per hour and the overtime rates are as follows. Before and after the normal working hours, we are going to pay 175% of the basic wage rate. Right? If the worker is working beyond the normal working hours, we are entitled to pay 175% of the basic wage rate. What is basic wage rate? 100 rupees. So 175% of this means we are going to pay 175 rupees to the worker. Now, what is the composition of this 175 rupees? This composition of 175 rupees says, in this 100 rupees is your basic wages that you have to pay. This 75 rupees is the extra. This is what we call it as overtime premium, right? If you are paying a total of 175 rupees to the worker, in that we are saying 100 rupees is anyhow entitled to. That is the basic wage rate. What is that extra amount that you are paying? You are paying only 75 rupees extra. That 75 extra rupees is what we call it as overtime premium. Then Sundays and holidays. Sundays and holidays is 225% of the basic wage rate. That means you will be paying what? You will be paying 225 rupees. Now in this 225 rupees, 100 rupees is your basic. This you have to pay anyhow. Right? The remaining 125 is what? The remaining 125 is your overtime premium that you will be paying. The extra amount that you will be paying. Now, they said during the previous year, the following hours were worked. Normal time, 1 lakh hours in the full year. Overtime before and after the working hours, that is 20,000. Overtime on Sundays and holidays, 5,000. So, total of 1,25,000 hours you have worked in the previous period. After that, the following hours have been worked on job Z. Normal, 1,000 hours. Overtime before and after the working hours 100, Sundays and holidays 25, total 1125 hours. This is for the full year. This is for the full year and this is for a particular job. In that year, we carried out a particular job Z. On this many hours have been incurred. You are required to calculate the labor cost chargeable to job Z, right? And the overhead in each of the following instances. First case, where the overtime is worked regularly throughout the year as a policy due to the workers' shortage. Now, which case it will be? Whether it is at the request of the particular customer? No, sir. Reason 2, overtime due to general work pressure throughout the year? Yes. This is our second reason. This falls under the second reason. So what will you do in this case? In this case, we will calculate the inflated wage rate. Inflated wage rate is what? The total rate, the total wages which is payable, right, divided by total hours. So what they have done here is, now the inflated wage rate will be calculated from which information? It can be calculated from this information. For the full year, what you have paid, that is the information that you have, right? So what you have paid here, for the normal time, that is 1 lakh hours, you are paying 100 rupees. For this, you are paying 100 rupees. For overtime before and after 20,000 hours, you are paying 175 rupees. And for this Sundays and holidays, you are paying 225 rupees, sorry. right? So this is what they have taken. This is the total wages payable for how many hours? For how many hours? Total of 125 hours. So you will get your inflated wage rate, that is 117. So what is the cost that is allocated to this particular job Z? That will be, the cost allocated will be total of 1125 hours. And what is the inflated wage rate per hour? 117. Yes, this is what we have calculated. Yes, sir. 1125 into 117. This is the cost. Out of this total cost, what is the cost that is chargeable to job Z? If the overtime is being worked regularly throughout the year. Next. Second part we have is, second part says where the overtime is worked irregularly to meet the requirements of production. So which condition it is? Sir, it is your third condition. Here the normal wages, whatever the normal wages that you are paying. Now the normal wages, if you look at the job Z, just listen to it very carefully. Job Z, you are paying the normal wages only for 1000 hours. Normal wages means 100 rupees that you will pay. Now that 100 rupees you will be paying only for 1000 hours, or for all the hours you will be paying 100 rupees. Right? Now 100 rupees you will be paying for all the hours, 1125. Even for this hour, if you are paying 175, it is bifurcated into 175. This 100 is my normal wage rate. Even for 25 hours, if you are paying 225 rupees, that means 100 and 125. So what will be the normal wage rate? Normal wage rate will be on what they are saying here. Okay, I'll write it down here for more clarity. Second part says two parts. One is the normal wage rate. Normal wage rate. Second is you are paying the overtime premium. Second is you are paying the overtime premium. Normal wage rate of rupees 100, right? Overtime premium is, what is the overtime amount? See here, the overtime amount is only 75 or 125. So the overtime amount is either 75 or 125. Now this 100 rupees you are paying for 100 and 125 hours. Isn't it? For all the hours. For this, all the hours you will be paying at least 100 rupees you will be paying. For this 100 hours and 25 hours you will be paying extra. So into 100 into 25. So this is 1,12,500. This will be your direct wages cost. This 7,500 plus 125 into 25, that is 3,125. This total of 10,625, this will be your what? Overheads. Right? So be very careful here that the normal wage rate of 100 rupees we are paying for all the hours. But overtime of 75 and 125 we are paying for only this hour. Only for 100 hours we are paying 75. For 25 we are paying 125. So normal wage rate will be taken to direct wages. Overtime will be taken to overheads. Third case is where the overtime is worked at the request of a particular customer. Okay, so the whole cost is to be charged from that customer. Right, so B part we have done. 1,12,500 and 10,625. Third is if it is at the request of the particular customer, then the whole cost is from that particular customer only, sir. Everything is from that all customers. So you can take it this way, or you can write it another way also. You can write it as you can write it as on 1000 hours, 100 and 125. Okay, so you can calculate it like this also. On 1000 hours into 100, that is 1 lakh. 100 hours into 175, right? 17,500. Then 25 into 225. That is 5625. What is the total of this? So this will come to 1,23,125. You can either calculate this way or you can calculate this way. Both ways it is absolutely correct. The only thing is the whole of this cost will be charged from the customer. Right? The whole of the cost will be charged from customer. Please let me know if you have any doubts in this. Yes, any doubts in this particular question? This is again a question which as such they have asked in the examination, just with a change of a certain values. Rest everything was same. The same question they have asked. All clear? Okay, so now we'll do one important question. Again, this question has been asked multiple times in the examination. Illustration number 10. This is on Halsey-Rowan plan. This illustration is on Halsey and Rowan plan. Let's come to this illustration number 10. A skilled worker in XYZ Limited is paid a guaranteed wage rate of rupees 30 per hour. Okay, the standard time per unit for a particular product is 4 hours. So you are given time allowed is equal to 4 hours. Rate per hour is given to you, that is earnings per hour. Sorry, what is given? Wage rate of, okay, rate per hour is given. Okay, 30 rupees. This is the wage rate per hour. Mr. P, a machine man, has been paid wages under the Rowan incentive plan and he had earned an effective hourly rate of 37.5 on the manufacture of that particular product. Now he is paid the wages according to Rowan plan, and what he has earned according to Rowan plan is for 37.5 per hour wages, not the total wages. Per hour wages 37.5. So read the language of the question very carefully. What is given? State what could have been his total earnings and the effective hourly rate had he been put on the Halsey incentive scheme. Now in this question, what is the missing value? You are given time allowed, you are given rate per hour, you are given earnings per hour. Earnings per hour is given as 37.5. But if you want to calculate the earnings under the Halsey plan also, what you need? Time allowed is there, but time taken is not there. So you have to calculate the time taken here first. Right? So let time taken be X. So what we will say here is let time taken be X. So what will be your time saved? Time saved will be time allowed minus time taken. This will be your time saved. Yes, sir. Time saved will be time allowed minus time taken. That is 4 minus X. Now, he is being paid wages under the Rowan plan. Under the Rowan plan, the wages are calculated as time taken into wage rate plus time saved divided by time allowed into time taken into wage rate. This is how we take it, right? what are the wages that he is earning? Sir, 37.5 rupees, sir, he is earning. So can I write 37.5 only? Be very careful here. 37.5 is the wages for per hour. Here it is the wages for total wages. This is total wages for time taken. So what will be the total wages? 37.5 is per hour. How many hours he has actually worked? That is X. So can I write it as the total wages will be 37.5 X. This will be equal to time taken is X and wage rate is 30. So X into 30. 4 minus X divided by time allowed. Time allowed is 4 into wage rate of 30. Right? So you have to solve this equation now. The simplest way to solve this equation is 37.5x. On this side, you take the x out of the equation. So 30 plus 4 minus x by 4 into 30. So cancel it out x, then solve this equation. You will get this x value. That is what they have done here. Right? So if you will solve this, you will get the value of x as 3 hours. That is time taken is equal to 3 hours. Time taken is 3 hours. Now, is this the question solved? No. Read the requirement of the question very carefully. The requirement of the question says what would be his total earnings and effective hourly rate under the Halsey plan with 50%. So Halsey plan says how? Halsey plan says total earnings. What will be the total earnings under Halsey plan? He has worked for 3 hours. That we have calculated. Time taken is 3 hours. Wage rate is how much? 30 plus 50% of time saved now is 1 hour into 30. Right? So it will be 3 into 30, 90 plus 15. So 105 will be the total wages under the Halsey plan. This will be the total earnings under Halsey plan. But please do not end the question here. The requirement of the question says that you have to show the total earnings as well as the hourly earnings. For 1 hour also you have to show. So for 1 hour divided by what? Divided by time taken. So 105 divided by 3. So it will be 35 rupees per hour. So again and again I am repeating that please go through what? Read the question very, very carefully. Read every information, every word very carefully. Even if it means that you are spending half minute extra on the question, but it might save you 5 marks, 10 marks. So read the question, read the requirement of the question very, very carefully. We have to fulfill, 100% fulfill the requirement of the question. That is important. Is this question clear, everyone? Illustration number 10. This is very important from the examination point of view. Please let me know if it is clear. Yes, everyone, please let me know if it is clear. Rest of the people. Let's move on to the next illustration. Now next we'll do it on labor turnover. Another important question we'll take up on labor turnover. And I request all of you, please share with your friends. If more people will join in live, it will be good, right? It will be good because if very few people are joining in the live session also, if the strength is less, then even the YouTube will not recommend this video. Then it might not reach the audience that it should reach. So for this, you people can help. Right? So I request everyone, as much as you can come live online, it would be much better. Even if you are watching it afterwards, please do like the video. Otherwise, the very simple thing is that the YouTube is not going to recommend the videos. If it is not going to recommend, that means it might not reach the right students. Students are searching for it, but the YouTube will not recommend. Let's come to the next one. Illustration number 15. Now this illustration number 15 is on what? It is on labor turnover. It is on labor turnover. Again, a very important question. Something, this type of a question they have repeated many times in the exam. This similar type of a question they have repeated multiple times in the exam. Let's see. The management of BR Limited is worried about their increasing employee turnover in the factory, and before analyzing the causes and taking the remedial steps, it wants to have an idea of the profit foregone as a result of employee turnover in the last year. Right? So this management says, sir, our employee turnover is very, very high. Our employee turnover is very, very high, and because of that we are losing out on the profit. Right? We are losing out on some profit. What is that? They say last year sales amounted to, last year the sales amounted to 83,03,300. PV ratio was 20%. PV ratio is like a profit. Right? So we can say one element is on the sales. What is the profit? 20% of the profit on sales. The total number of actual hours worked by the direct employee force was 4.45 lakhs. Right? So total hours that they are working is 4,45,000. Okay, sir. So I'll write here. I'll just write here. Let's see what will happen. So total they are working for how many hours? 4,45,000. Okay. Then they say the actual direct employee hours included 30,000 hours attributable to training the new recruits, out of which, that means this 30,000 is included in this 4,45,000. This 30,000 hours which are spent on training, it is included in this 4,45,000. Further they say, out of which half of the hours were unproductive. So how many hours were unproductive? 15,000. So if we want to calculate the productive hours, can I subtract 15,000 from here? Yes, sir. We should subtract 15,000 from here to calculate the productive hours. Next they say is, as a result of delays by the personnel department in filling the vacancies due to the employee turnover, 1 lakh potentially productive hours excluding the unproductive training time. That is, besides this 15,000 hours which we have subtracted, those 15,000 hours were lost due to the training of the new employees. Another thing is that this personnel department, they did not hire the people in time. Because of the non-hiring, 1 lakh potentially productive hours were lost. So what, right? Is this 1 lakh potentially productive hours included in this 4,45,000? No, sir. This 15,000 was included, but because it was clearly mentioned, 30,000 included. So besides this, there is 1 lakh hours which are unproductive. So here the productive hours is 4,30,000. Productive hours is 4,30,000. Right? So that means, can I say this sales which we have done, 83,03,300. 83,03,300. This sale is for how many hours? This sale is of 4,30,000 hours. 30,000, this is what? This is your productive hours. That means you manufactured something in these number of hours, you sold those goods and you generated a sale of 83,03,300. Correct, sir? Now, if I want to calculate what is the lost sale, what is the sale that might have taken place if there is no labor turnover, but now that is lost. Can we calculate the lost sale? Lost sale for this 15,000 hours will be there. If I want to find out my lost productive hours, my lost productive hours due to labor turnover, how many hours are lost? One, this 15,000 hours are lost because of the training of the new employees, isn't it? Plus, what else is lost? Sir, 1 lakh potentially productive hours were lost due to the delay in the hiring. So total loss is 1,15,000 hours. This is your total productive hours which are lost. So can you tell me what is the sales that you might have generated during this 1,15,000 hours? In 4,30,000 hours, if you are able to generate a sales of 83,03,300, in 1,15,000 hours which are lost, how much of the sales you could have generated? Divided by 4,30,000 multiplied by 1,15,000. So 83,03,300 divided by 4,30,000 into 1,15,000. Sorry, something wrong, sir. Oh yes, correct. 83,03,300 divided by 4,30,000 into 1,15,000. This will come to that for this hours, the sales that you could have generated is 22,20,650. 22,20,650. This is your lost sales. Now, on this sales, what is the profit that you could have earned? Now we are saying the profit on the sales is how much? The profit on the sales is 20%. So lost profit is how much? What will be your lost profit, sir? Lost profit is 20% of this 22,20,650. That comes to 4,44,130. This is the profit that the company is losing from the sales only. One impact. Will there be any other impact on the profits? Yes, there will be other impact also. If you read further, they say the cost incurred consequent on the employee turnover revealed on the analysis the following. Settlement cost because of the labor turnover. One is we are losing out on the profit on the sales. Another is we have to incur certain extra cost. Settlement cost, recruitment cost, selection cost and training cost. So beside this loss of 4,44,130, there is extra loss of this also because it is an cost being incurred, right? So what is the total loss here? Contribution foregone 4,44,130. This is what we calculated, lost profit, right? We have used the word contribution here because PV ratio is related to contribution. Then this part, this is the extra cost being incurred. This because of the labor turnover, this extra cost will also reduce my profits. So profit foregone will be 5,57,930. This is what they wanted to know, that what is the total loss of the profit that we are bearing because of the labor turnover. Please let me know if there is any doubts in this. Yes, guys, quickly let me know if there are any doubts in this. No doubts? Okay, so in this part now, with the labor turnover, they have given one small part, that is direct expenses. Now, what are the direct expenses? Here we have already discussed that any expense which is directly related to production, which is directly related to our cost object, right? So expenses other than direct material and direct employee cost, which are incurred to manufacture a product or for the provision of service, and can be directly traced in an economically feasible manner to the cost object. So I told you what is a cost object? Anything for which the cost is being ascertained. Like the royalty paid or payable for the production. If the royalty is paid dependent upon the units, number of units that you are manufacturing. Higher charges paid for hiring a specific equipment that is directly related to the production, that is directly related to the cost object. For example, if you are making a building, let's say you are making a building, you want to find out the cost incurred in the making of that building. For that particular building, you have hired specifically a special cement mixture, right? That cost now, that hiring cost is directly attributable to that building. The cost object here is what? The cost object here is the building. The hiring cost that you will be paying for that mixture, the cement mixture machine, that is directly related to that particular building. So it is a direct cost. Cost for product or service specific design or drawing, cost for the product or service specific software for any particular thing. Other expenses which are directly related with the production of goods and services. Right? The above list is not exhaustive. Any other expenses which are directly attributable to production can be included. Now, in this, there is one point which is little bit controversial, I will say. If it is given power and fuel cost, right? Ideally, what we say, sir, power and fuel cost, ideally we say it cannot be identified with one unit of the cost object. But power and fuel cost, they take it as direct expense, right? It is taken as direct expense as per cost accounting standard 10, right? These cost accounting standards are there in the CMA, not in the CA part. In the CMA part, cost accounting standards are there. So it is specifically mentioned there, power and fuel cost as a direct expense. So sometimes they will treat it as a direct expense, other time they will treat it as overheads. So you have to give an assumption with the power and fuel part specifically. Clear? So there is one question on this, that Aditya Limited is an engineering manufacturing company producing the job order on the basis of the specification given by the customers. During the last month, it has completed 3 job works, namely A, B and C. The following are the item of expenditure which are incurred apart from the direct material and direct employee cost. Office and administration cost 3 lakh. Is it related to a specific job? Is it related to any specific job out of A, B and C? No, sir. Right. So will it be a direct cost? No. The product blueprint cost for the job A. Yes. Now here the cost object is what? The cost object is the particular job. Job A, job B, job C. That is the cost object. Now, if any cost which is related to the production, which is directly attributable to a particular cost object, the cost object here is a particular job, it will be a direct cost. Yes, it will be my direct expense. Higher charges paid for the machinery used for the job work B, specific for the job work, so again it will be my direct expense. Salary to office attendant, is it for the specific job? No, it is overall. So it is not a direct expense. One-time license fee paid for the software used to make the computerized graphics for job C, specific software acquired for job C. It is your direct expense. Salary paid to the marketing manager 1,20,000. It is general. It is not specific to any job. So it is again not a direct expense. So this is the table that what all is included in the direct expenses. Any doubts in this part? So with this, we are done with the revision of labor costing. I have done the important questions of labor costing. These illustrations that we have done, these are those questions which Institute has been asking repeatedly in the examinations with the change of values or with a little bit of a twist. So that is why I'm saying be very strong with the concepts, be very strong with all these important questions that we are covering in this revision sessions, right? These are all the important questions. Okay, yes guys, any doubts if you have with regard to the labor cost or direct expenses? So we are done with the labor part. Everyone done with the labor part? Any doubts? No doubts? Okay. So let's do one thing. Before we start with the overheads, let's take a 10 minutes break. So today we'll cut short the break to 10 minutes, right? So after 10 minutes, we'll start with our next chapter, overhead costing. So 1 hour we'll spend on overhead costing, discussing the various parts, the various concepts we'll try to cover for the overhead costing. The small things we'll see what is there in the overhead costing, which is again a very important chapter in costing. Right? So let's go in for a 10 minutes break. After 10 minutes, we'll start with overhead costing. Right? See you guys after 10 minutes. Take a 10 minutes break. Okay, so we are back. Please let me know if you guys are there. Just message once, quickly drop in the message that sir, we are here. So we start with the next topic, that is overhead costing. So please quickly message once and let me know if you guys are here only. Yes, you people are back. Yes, okay, fine. So let's start. Okay, so now we are going to start with the next chapter, that is overhead costing. Today I'll keep the session slightly on the lower side. Right, we'll cut short the session. Wait. So I'll cut short the session. We'll just do the some basics part on overhead costing. The rest will be covering tomorrow. Tomorrow major part of overheads will be over, right? Okay, so now coming to overheads, when we talked about material and labor, there we talked about direct material cost and direct labor cost. Sir, what about the indirect cost? As I told you in the very basics also, all the indirect cost we call it as overheads, right? So overhead is what? The overhead is nothing but indirect material plus indirect labor plus indirect expenses. So whole of this indirect cost is my overheads. Now the big question is that, sir, what is the purpose of studying this chapter? Now let's say the indirect cost, electricity cost is there, rent cost is there, whatever you are paying for the production, right? Anything that you are paying for production, for making the goods, for selling the goods, any cost which you are incurring, will you not recover this cost from your customers? Because you are incurring this cost for whom? You are incurring this cost for making the product which is ultimately going to the customer. This cost is to be recovered from the customer. But the problem is the indirect cost we cannot identify directly in one unit of the finished product. That is the problem. So what is the purpose of studying this chapter? The purpose is to recover the indirect cost from the customers by identifying it in one unit of the finished product. Right? This is the purpose of studying the overheads. That indirect cost is to be recovered from the customer, but we can recover it from the customer only if we include that cost in the goods that we are selling. But we are saying indirect cost is what, sir? Indirect cost is the cost which cannot be identified in the one unit of the finished product, isn't it? So how to recover it from the customer? Until and unless you make that cost identify in one unit that you are selling to the customer, you will not be able to recover the cost, right? So the purpose here is how to recover that cost. Now, when we talk about overheads, there are two types of overheads which are mentioned. One we call it as allocated overheads. Another one is apportioned overheads. Now, what are allocated overheads and what are apportioned overheads? Let's say there is a factory area. Let's say there is a factory area, right? This is the factory area. Now, in this, there are two departments I am saying. This is your department 1, P1. This is your department P2, right? There are two departments. This department is having a separate electricity meter. This department is having a separate electricity meter. Now, if both the departments are having the separate electricity meters, electricity is what? It is an indirect cost, right? So that means both the departments will be receiving the separate bills. Yes, sir. Both the departments will be receiving the separate bills. So you can directly identify that what is the electricity cost of department P1, what is the electricity cost of department P2 from the individual bills that you will be receiving. So this is what we call it as allocated overheads. right? So what they are saying is allocated overhead means the overheads. What it means, the overheads directly identifiable with the individual departments, right? So it is directly identifiable with the individual departments. We call it as allocated overheads. What about the apportioned overheads? Apportioned overhead means, same example we'll take. Let's say this is the factory area, right? Let's say this is the factory area that we are having. We are having two departments in this, department P1, department P2, department P1 and department P2. Now there is a common electricity meter for the whole factory. You get 1 lakh rupees of the electricity bill. Now, if you want to find out that out of this 1 lakh rupees, how much of the electricity bill is attributable to P1 and how much is attributable to P2, can you find out? No, directly we cannot find out. So we will have to find out the ways that how to distribute this 1 lakh between P1 and P2. That distribution is what we call it as apportionment. This is what we call it as apportionment of overheads on some reasonable basis. On some reasonable basis, right, between P1 and P2. If the overhead is directly identifiable with the departments, we say it is an allocated overhead. If there is a common overhead and it is to be distributed between the departments on some reasonable basis, in that case we call it as apportionment of overheads. So what is apportionment of overheads? Overheads which are to be distributed amongst the various departments on some reasonable basis, right? It is to be distributed amongst the various departments on some reasonable basis. Clear? Now, when we talk about the departments here, the departments are divided into two categories. One category is called as production departments. That means the departments which are directly involved in the making of the finished good, in the production of the finished goods. Those are, we call it as production departments. Another one are called as service departments. So what are service departments, sir? Service departments are those departments which provide support services to the production department, right? So it is always two departments that we will be talking about, that is the production department and the service department, right? Production and service department. Now try to understand what we do in the overheads. The purpose is clear. The purpose is to identify the overhead cost from one unit of the finished product so that that indirect cost can be recovered from our customer. Correct, sir? Now, see the purpose here. Try to understand the purpose here, what we are trying to do. I am saying this is my factory area. This I'll divide it into four different parts now. I'll divide it into four parts. Right? What are those four parts? I call it as production department P1. This is your P1, that is production department. This is your production department P2. This is your service department S1. This is your service department S2. Right? This is your finished product on this side, finished good. This is your overheads in this side. Now, what is the journey that we need? We need to identify this overhead in the finished good. But can you just jump it like this and identify it in the finished good? No, sir. In between there is a wall. In between there is a room where P1, P2, S1, S2 are sitting. Right? So it's this one is like a boyfriend and this is a girlfriend. Right? And these are the family of the girl. Now boy wants to reach this girl, but in between there is a family. In between there is a family which is sitting there. Right? So boy says, I will not take the girl like this, jump in the house, take the girl. No. He says, what I will do is, I will first reach out to the family, ask the family, directly, isn't it? So overheads, this is the purpose now is more clear, that this overhead is to be identified in 1 unit of the finished product. But the problem is, in between there are 4 departments. So how to reach from this end to this end? This is what we have to study in the overheads. Is this much part clear? The objective is clear, that why we are studying. And we will be taking it as P1, P2, S1, S2, production department and service departments. Yes, please let me know if this much part is clear, guys. Please let me know if this much part is clear. So then we will jump to the next part. Yes, okay. So, fine. So next, now to identify this overheads in the finished goods, there are 3 steps that we have to take, right? There are 3 steps which are required to be taken. What are those 3 steps? The 3 steps are called as, the first one is called as primary distribution. Second one is called as secondary distribution. The third one is called as absorption. So in the diagram, if I want to tell you, so what will I say? First, the overheads is to be distributed amongst all the departments. The overheads are to be distributed amongst all the departments. This step is called as primary distribution. Right? This step is called as primary distribution, where the overheads are to be distributed amongst all the departments. Then second step says that now the overheads of the service department are to be distributed between the production departments. The overheads of the service departments are to be distributed amongst the production department. This step is called as secondary distribution. This is called as secondary distribution. Right? And now when you are distributing the overheads, finally you have collected all the overheads here. You have collected all the overheads in the production department. Now from production department, you have to take this overheads to the finished goods. You have to take this to the 1 unit of the finished product. This we call it as absorption. This is the third step. This we call it as absorption or recovery of overheads. Absorption or recovery of overheads. Right? This we call it as absorption or recovery of overheads. So in 3 steps we make sure that we are able to identify the overheads in the finished goods. That means this journey we are able to take. Right? 3 steps: primary distribution, secondary distribution, and third is absorption or recovery of overheads. So now we'll start with the first step. What is primary distribution? Primary distribution says whatever the overheads are there, the overheads are to be distributed amongst all the departments. Okay, so primary distribution, how the primary distribution is done? I'll take you through the steps of primary distribution. Primary distribution. Right? So in the primary distribution, what you will take? You will take all the departments, whether it is the production department, whether it is a service department. So let's say there are 2 production departments, P1, P2. There are 2 service department, S1 and S2. 2 production departments, 2 service departments. In the primary distribution, what is the first step? The first step is we have to take the direct cost. Direct cost of what? Direct cost of production department will we take? No sir. Direct cost of production department, no. What we will take is, we'll take, okay, I'll write it like this. This is not to be taken. This is not to be taken. The direct cost is to be taken for the service departments. Sir, direct cost. You are saying, sir, you told us that direct cost is what? The direct cost is the cost which is directly identifiable with the 1 unit of the finished product. Correct. I told you that. Sir, if the direct cost is already identifiable with the 1 unit of the finished product, then why are we taking the direct cost of service department? Now think about it. Service department is what? There is a canteen in the factory. Canteen is what? Canteen is a service department which is providing the services to whom? Services to the production department, right? The production workers, when they get tired, they go to the canteen, have tea, coffee. Correct? So direct cost of the service department. What is the direct cost of the canteen? Sir, if there is a bread roll which is being made in the canteen, how much of the potatoes will be there in the bread roll? That is a direct cost for the canteen. But can you identify what will be the potato cost in the making of 1 unit of the t-shirt? That is your finished product. Can you tell? No. Right? So why we are taking the direct cost of service department is because this is indirect cost. This is indirect cost for production department. Right? This is indirect cost for production department. So we have to take this direct cost of only and only service department, not the production departments, because the direct cost of production department is what? Direct cost of production department is already identified in 1 unit. So that is not an overhead at all. Clear? Now next, after the direct cost, what you will take? You will take all the allocated overheads. You will take all the allocated overheads. That is to be taken under all the departments. So be very careful with this direct cost, because this is one very common mistake that I have seen. Students, they do not either take the direct cost or they take the direct cost in all the departments. So this is a very common mistake. Please be very careful with this mistake. You are not committing this mistake. Right? Very, very important that you are not committing this mistake, guys. Okay, so allocated overheads you will take. After the allocated overheads, what will you take? After this, you will take your apportioned overheads. Right? After this, you will take your apportioned overheads in all the departments. Right? So what we have done is this step. We have distributed the overheads amongst all the departments. This white lines, primary distribution. So the total of this, what you will get? The total of this, you will get it as the total overheads of all departments as per primary distribution. As per primary distribution. Right? As per primary distribution, what is the total overheads of all the departments? This is what you will get. Okay, first tell me, is the primary distribution clear? So primary distribution is what? The distribution of all the overheads amongst all the departments. So steps is, first, direct cost is to be taken only and only for service department. So this is a mistake area that you have to be careful with. Allocated overhead means the overheads which are already distributed amongst the departments. Third is the apportioned overheads, which are the common overheads given, but you have to distribute amongst the departments on some reasonable basis. Right? But when you are choosing the reasonable base, be very careful. Like it is a employee welfare expenses. Now the employee welfare expenses, can you distribute on the basis of the light points or on the basis of area? No sir, that is not a reasonable base. If there is any expense which is related to the employee, you will distribute on the basis of number of employees in each department. Right? So when you are selecting the reasonable base, be very careful in that selection. Yes. Is that clear, everyone? Then we will move to the next one, that is secondary distribution. So the steps of the primary distribution I have given. The objective is what? The objective of primary distribution is to distribute the overheads amongst all departments, that is between the production and service department. Steps: take the direct cost of service department only. Direct cost of what? Direct cost of only and only service departments. Then take the allocated overheads. Then apportion the overheads amongst all the departments on some reasonable basis. Clear with this? Okay. Now let's move on to the secondary distribution. Now what is the purpose of secondary distribution? If you see, secondary distribution says that, sir, after primary distribution, what is there? After primary distribution, you have all the cost in all the departments. In all the departments. Now the secondary distribution purpose is to take the cost of the service department, distribute it amongst the production departments. To distribute the cost of service department among the production department. The purpose of secondary distribution is that cost of service department should be 0. Cost of service department, we have to make it 0. Cost means the overheads, right? That means all the overheads which are there in the service departments are now to be taken to the production department. The distribution of service department overheads to the production department is what we call it as secondary distribution. Right? Now there are different methods of secondary distribution, sir. What are those methods? First is called as direct distribution method. Direct distribution method says what? Direct distribution method says that there are departments P1, P2, S1 and S2. Right? There are departments P1, P2, S1 and S2. In this case, what we do, whatever is the overheads of S1, we will directly distribute between P1 and P2. Whatever are the overheads of the department S2, we will distribute between P1 and P2. Right? In this particular case, we do not consider the services being provided by S1 to S2 or by S2 to S1. We do not consider these services. Direct distribution method says directly the overheads of the service departments are distributed amongst P1 and P2. On the reasonable basis, the basis will be there. Right? On whatever the basis it is being distributed on the reasonable basis. That will be given. That you need not worry about. Clear? So this is our first method called as direct distribution method. Second method. So under this method, okay, direct distribution method says under this method, the service department overheads are distributed amongst the production departments only. That is, services provided by service department to each other are to be ignored. Right? If S1 is giving services to S2 or S2 to S1, we have to ignore those services. We will not consider those services. Is that clear, everyone? Second one is the step ladder method. Second one we have is step ladder method. Now what is the step ladder method says? Just listen to it carefully. Step ladder method. Step ladder method. Right? Step ladder method says there are departments P1, P2, S1 and S2. Right? So there are 4 departments P1, P2, S1, S2. They have provided the services. Now the step ladder method says S1 is providing the services to S2 but is not taking the services from S2 to S1. So when you are going to distribute the overheads, which department's overheads you will distribute first? In the secondary distribution, whether you will distribute the S1 overheads or whether you will distribute the S2 overheads. So in this case, the rule is simple. the service department which is providing more services, we will start with the distribution of the overheads of that service department. In this case, service department S1 is providing services to P1, P2 and S2, 3 departments, whereas S2 is providing the services only to P1 and P2. Right? So when we will do secondary distribution, we will first distribute S1 between P1, P2 and S2 between P1, P2 and S2. Then whatever is the total overheads of the S2, these total overheads of the S2 will be distributed amongst P1 and P2. From there you will get the total overheads of P1 and P2. So this is total overheads of production departments. Total overheads of production departments. This is your step ladder method. Step method. Is this clear? Step ladder method is clear. Please let me know quickly if the step ladder method is clear, guys. Yes. Okay, next. Clear. Next we have is, after the step ladder method, what we have is direct distribution done, step ladder method done. The third method that we have is reciprocal services. Now, reciprocal services says what? That under this method, both service department provide significant services to each other, right? That means if you are having the departments P1, that is production department P1, P2, you are having service department S1 and S2, right? In the step ladder method, what we said, that S1 is providing services but not taking services, right? But in this case, we are saying that S1 is providing services to S2. At the same time, S1 is taking the services from S2, right? So S1 is taking the services from S2. Clear? So both of them are providing significant services to each other. This is known as reciprocal services method. Now, under the reciprocal services method, there are 3 different methods which are given. One is called as repeated distribution method. Another one is called as simultaneous equation method. The third one is called as trial and error method. Right? These two are important. This is important. This is important. What is this repeated distribution method? Repeated distribution method says, so I'll take here the repeated distribution method first. Repeated distribution method. In the repeated distribution, we have departments, production department P1, P2, service department S1 and S2. This is given to you, right? Now, repeated distribution method says, first you will have the cost as per primary distribution, right? You have cost as per primary distribution for all the departments. Now, purpose of secondary is what? This cost should be 0. This cost should be 0. So where to start with? Whether we should start with the distribution of S1 or we should start with the distribution of S2. What should we do? They say you can start with any department. The reason being, both the departments are providing the services to each other now. Start with the distribution of S1. Distribute S1. Now, if S1, if S1 is being distributed between P1, P2 and S2, because S1 is providing the services to P1 also, P2 also, S2 also. So the cost should be distributed amongst all the departments. So you will distribute here S1, S2, right? Here you will write S1 over S2 distributed. Now, next you will distribute what? Now you will distribute the total cost of this S2 department, right, between P1, P2 and S1. Now, S2 will be distributed between P1, P2 and S1. Now, this will be 0. But there is again certain cost which is there in S1, which is again, there is certain cost with S1. Right now, this S1 again is to be distributed. Again, that is why it is called as repeated distribution. You will keep on distributing. You will keep on distributing. Now again there will be certain cost with S2. Now again you will distribute S2, that is between P1, P2 and S1. Now again here it will be 0. Now again here there is a cost in S1. Again you will distribute S1 between P1, P2 and here it will be there. Sorry. It will be like this. It will be like this. Now S2 again will be distributed, but now I am distributing only between P1 and P2. I am ending this circle. Sir, how to define, how do we get to know that we have to end this? How do we know that we have to end this? Sir, we will get to know if this value now is a negligible value. It is a negligible value. Negligible value means what? The negligible value means a very small value. It can be 10 rupees, it can be 50 rupees, it can go up to 50 rupees, 100 rupees also. It can go up to 100 rupees also. If it is a negligible value, it's a small value, then do not distribute between all the departments. That small value you distribute only and only between production departments. Or what ICI will do? The ICI will say the repeated distribution method is to be applied for 3 cycles. This is 1 cycle, this is 2nd cycle, this is 3rd cycle. That means you have to end the question with 3 cycles. This is the normal way that how institute will mention. Right? This is normally the way which the institute will mention, that you have to end it with 3 different cycles. Is this clear, everyone? Please let me know if this is clear. Costing made easy. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pramod sir. Is this clear? Repeated distribution is clear? Okay. So second we have is simultaneous equation method. Okay, first I'll do the trial and error method. That is similar to repeated distribution. Now here I'll do trial and error method first. Trial and error method. Now what is this trial and error method? In the trial and error method, it is similar to repeated distribution. But what we do in trial and error method is we apply repeated distribution, but amongst the service departments only, S1, S2, right? We will apply repeated distribution, amongst service departments only. Amongst the service departments only. Right? Okay, so if we apply the repeated distribution amongst the service department, what we will get from here is we will get the total cost of S1 and total cost of S2. Now this total cost that we have got, this will be distributed between P1 and P2. this will be distributed between P1 and P2. This is how it will be done. Repeated distribution is to be applied between the service departments only to get the total cost of the service department, and that total cost will then be distributed amongst the production department. Now, how the question will be given in case of repeated distribution? The information will be given as that there are two service departments, there are P1, P2, S1 and S2, right? The information will be like department S1, that is a service department S1, is providing 40% services to P1. It is providing another 40% services to P2, right? And the remaining 20% services being provided to S2, right? Then it will be given that service department S2 is providing, let's say, 50% services to P1, 40% services to P2 and 10% services to N1. So this is the meaning that both the departments, both the service departments, they are providing services to each other. Clear? This is how the information will be given. Now, when you have calculated here S1, you have calculated the total value. Here, when you are distributing between P1 and P2, how will you distribute? You will take 40% of that cost and 40% of that cost, right? You will distribute as 40% in P1, 40% in P2, right? Sir, what about the remaining 20%? The remaining 20% we have already considered here in the repeated distribution. That is not to be taken. And for S2, you will take here 50% and 40%. You will take it in the percentage itself. Do not distribute the total cost in 4:4 or 1:1, right? Only that percentage of the cost will be taken to P1 and P2. Now, what about the simultaneous equation, sir? Repeated distribution done, trial and error done. What about the simultaneous equation? Listen to it very carefully now. Simultaneous equation says what? You have the cost as per primary distribution. Yes, sir. We have the cost as per primary distribution. Now we will prepare two equations. What are those two equations? The first will say, let total cost of department S1 be X and total cost of department S2 be Y. Right? We will take the total cost of department. Now, what is the meaning of this total cost? This X is equivalent to what? This X is equivalent to whatever the cost as per primary distribution plus what will be the additional cost for S1? For S1, the additional cost will be the services that S1 is taking from S2. If you are taking the services only, then it will be a cost for you. So for department S1, what will be the cost? Whatever is the services they are taking from S2, right? So that means they are taking 10% of the services. So can I say here plus 0.10 Y? This will be that this out of this Y, 10% of the cost is attributable to X, that is department X, S1. Similarly, we will prepare another equation for Y. What does this total cost of S2 represent? What does this Y represent? It represents whatever is the cost as per primary distribution, whatever is the cost as per primary distribution plus whatever is the services that S2 is taking from S1. Now S2 is taking how much services? S2 is taking 20% services from S1. So that means the 20% of this cost is attributable to S2. So I'll take here plus 0.20x. So from these two equations, what you will get? You will get the value of X, right? And you will get the value of Y. X represent what? The total cost of S1. Y represent what? The total cost of S2, service department's total cost it represents. So this X, the total cost of S1 will now be distributed between P1 and P2. 40%, 40%. This Y will now be distributed between P1, P2, 50% and 40%. This is your simultaneous equation method. Now in the exam, most of the times the ICI will give you that which method is to be applied. Normally they are asking either the repeated distribution method or the simultaneous equation method. These are the two favorite methods for ICAI, right? These are the two favorite methods for ICI. But if the question is silent, you can apply any of the methods. But my recommendation is that if possible, apply the simultaneous equation method. That is comparatively easier. In case of repeated distribution, when you will keep on distributing, right, the calculations are too many. And in those too many calculations, the chances of committing the mistake is high. So what my recommendation is that you should go with the simultaneous equation method. Rest is your choice. If the question is silent, so read the question till the last line very carefully, that whether the question has specified the method or it has not specified the method. Is that clear, everyone? So with this, our secondary distribution is done, right? So I will give an error. If the question is silent, apply either repeated distribution or simultaneous equation method. Right? Oh, is that clear? So we are done with the secondary distribution. All those who are live, guys, please like the video, please. Done, guys. Secondary distribution is clear. So today we'll do this much only. The next step, that is the absorption of overheads, we'll do tomorrow. Right? In the absorption of overheads, we'll get a very important topic that is called as machine hour rate. Then we will get the topic of under and over absorption. So tomorrow we'll start normally at 6 p.m. Tomorrow's timings will be 6 p.m. We'll start at 6. In the first half, we will cover all the concepts. Second half, we will see some questions on specifically on machine hour rate. I want to do some questions with you. Right? Primary distribution, secondary distribution, you will handle. I know that. But machine hour rate, I want to do a few questions with you. Yes, any doubts in the today's session, guys? Any doubts if you have, please let me know quickly, then we'll close this session. Yes, any doubts, guys? No doubts. Please keep revising side by side. Even if you are watching the recordings, I'm requesting all of you, please do the revisions side by side. That is very, very important for you people. Right? Okay. If there are no doubts, we are done for the today's session. See you guys tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep studying, keep sharing. Thank you so much.